How you doing, Mr. Crump?
I'm well.
You're here to talk about how social media has played a role in your case, in the case. So how do you think it has helped or hurt?
No, I think it helped. First of all, I think it's important to know how we got involved in social media. We didn't engage social media. It's almost as if social media engaged us. When this case happened, we got the call from Tracy Martin talking about his son being killed, and that he was killed by a neighborhood watch volunteer with a 9mm gun, and they were not going to arrest him. I told him he didn't need me on this case. As a court official, I honestly believe that the police were going to arrest him because it's an unarmed dead kid on the ground. You got to arrest him. So I told him he wouldn't need me. I told him, give it a couple of days, and I think you'll see the system will work as it always does. When people kill unarmed people, they are arrested. Well, what ended up happening 2 days later, he called me and he said, Mr. Crump, I told you they said they were not going to arrest him. And I had to apologize to him. He was right, I was wrong. And so at that point, we did a press conference at Attorney Natalie Jackson's office, and we were expressing the outrage and concern that you can kill an unarmed kid and go home and not be arrested. And when we did that, then the police department had a press conference saying they were not going to arrest him. And that's when the social media took off. It wasn't anything that we started or we engaged. It was people who were outraged about what happened. It was a law student, a white law student at Howard University, who started a Change.org petition that said, justice for Trayvon, we at least have to arrest the killer of this unarmed kid and bring him into the court of law. And that petition became the largest petition in the history of Change.org. Over 2.2 million people signed that petition. And that was started not by us, but by a student. This was an organic movement that the people just started saying, we want to make sure that there's equal justice. That law student found a voice. That's what I think social media has done for so many of the people who are tweeting and on Facebook and all blogging and commenting about the matter of Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. And then you look at the Million Hoodie Rally. That was all students. It was something that was very grassroots oriented, and it's still grassroots oriented. I think what this whole matter has done has allowed people who normally would not have a voice in matters like this. They would just watch and probably have emotions but won't be able to comment and such. Well, social media has given them that avenue to even engage you all. You know, as the media, you all are very powerful, very influential, and a lot of times they didn't have a way to communicate with you. But that's what social media has done. And I do believe this is the new way that people are going to engage legal matters. I think the precedence has been set, and I think it will never be like we were used to before the Trayvon Martin case, when you have big legal cases.
Mr. O'Mara basically said that if this was 40 years ago, he wouldn't be standing in front of us even having a case right now, saying that because of social media, because of the media coverage, that it's definitely hurt his case, and he doesn't even feel that he would even be, you know, representing his client right now if it wasn't for that. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think if it was 40 years ago, we do have a similar matter with Emmett Till. And I think a lot of people are coming out on social media and commenting because historically they have seen what they believe to be grave injustices and not have a voice, not have a say-so. And they will see people that they identify with in their community be victims, and the system does not work for them as it worked for others. So therefore, I think social media has a role. Everything evolves. Everything evolves. And I think when Emmett Till case was there, had there been social media, had there been the influence of the people having a voice, I think we probably would have seen different results in that case. And now with Trayvon Martin, over 50 years later, it's a historical landmark matter that is going to really, really impact jurisprudence in America forever. I think that because social media, because all these multitude of issues like stand your ground, profiling, equal justice, these issues are going to be prevalent now, and we already see it in Jordan Davis' case, Ernest Hoskins' case. Now people are finding their voices.
But how do you feel about the defense wanting to depose you?
Well, Valerie, I think it's not a good legal precedence, not for the profession and not for this case, but we respect the rule of law, and if the court was to say that I had to give a deposition, then I imagine the precedent would be set, and I would be asking for a deposition of Mr. O'Mara as it relates to what he knew about George Zimmerman's jailhouse conversations and the money and the passports and things. I just think it starts a bad precedence. It's irrelevant. It gets us off of focus what the issue is in this case, and that is what happened on February 26, 2012.
So, Mr. Crump, what's your reaction to the defense wanting Trayvon Martin's cell phone records?
Well, I think it's irrelevant because of this. George Zimmerman did not know who Trayvon Martin was the night he got out of his car and decided to pursue Trayvon Martin. And so I think it's somewhat irrelevant when you really think about why does that matter. George Zimmerman only saw him walking down the street. He didn't know anything about his social media, didn't know anything about his cell phone records, didn't know him from Adam. All he knew, he had on a hoodie, he was walking home, he was walking. That's it, nothing else. So I think the state and Mr. O'Mara are going to argue those points, but from the family's perspective, we think it's totally irrelevant.
It's about 6 or 7 weeks until this trial begins, jury selections. Between now and then and during the trial, what's your role since you're not necessarily trying or defending this case or anything like that?
That's a good question. When Tracy Martin and Sabrina Fulton engaged us, we were just trying to get justice for them. That's it, just trying to get justice. It wasn't anything about a civil case. It wasn't anything about trademarks or anything like that. We were trying to help this family get justice, and that was it. And so we started trying to put the facts and say, this is what happened, and people started reacting. Now, when an arrest was made, we made a conscious decision, Attorney Natalie Jackson and Attorney Modaris and I made a conscious decision to move back. And we said, now that they have charged them, the state and Mr. Zimmerman's lawyers, they will engage in the process. Well, there were times when we believe Trayvon Martin was attacked, his family was attacked, and we had to represent their interests. And so we will represent their interests throughout this process because we, as lawyers, understand that's our role. They don't understand a lot of these things that happen. The media, when we trademarked his name, that was a legal decision to do that. That wasn't the family's decision because we saw people out there using his image, using his name in terrible ways. And so we said, well, let's make sure we trademark so we can stop people from using it in very irresponsible ways, as well as trying to profit off of a tragedy like this here. And so that's why we trademarked. That was a legal decision. That's what lawyers do. People don't understand a lot what lawyers do. Sabrina and Tracy are still grieving about their son who's never coming home. And so all of this here, they want justice for their son, but at the end of the day, they know nothing is going to bring their son back.
Last question.
Mr. Crump, is there, any additional information about the case that hasn't been entered into evidence as of yet?
We know most of it, but the state and the defense know everything. I would imagine, to borrow a line from William Faulkner, it's going to be a long, hot summer in Seminole County come June 10th, and it's going to be a lot of information that comes out, and the jury, as all of America and all the world, are going to be focused on what happens in this matter, because it will be a historic reference point in American jurisprudence. And all the world is watching because they want to see if everybody gets equal justice in America. And so I'm sure the jury, when they hear all the evidence, they will base their verdict on the evidence. And America, we will respect the rule of law. And Tracy Martin and Sabrina Fulton and Trayvon Martin's family has asked that everybody respect the rule of law. They don't want anybody to try to take the law into their hands because they never wanted the killer of their son to take the law into his hands. We have police officers for that, and we have a court of law, a rule of law that should reign supreme.